Right, today's job, got a Fendt 820 with a water leak and it's coming from the water pump, so we'll get it inside and we'll get it off and change it. The dreaded Fendt error code beep. Every Fendt operator dreads this noise, and I think every mechanic does as well. Luckily today it's just that it's for low water level, so it's nothing too major. Just before I get it in the workshop, please subscribe if you like these videos and I'll keep making them. I can't believe that we're over 300 subscribers now. Blown away by that. Absolutely blown away in 5, 6 videos. So thanks very much to everyone who's liked and subscribed. I brought it in the workshop now. Went out to it on site, I think a couple of days before, and had a look at it because the customer said there was a pool of water under the front axle after he'd left it overnight. So I went to it, put my hand on the pulley, and you could tell straight away there was loads of play in the bearing on the water pump. So told them to bring it to us and set to doing it. Everything's really tightly packed in on this Fendt. You can just see my finger there just about touching it, and I have a job to get my hand on the pulley to touch it. Everything's really crammed in on it, really compact. A lot of horsepower in quite a small tractor chassis. The Fendt's the compact tractor for the horsepower that they are. So working on them, it can be a bit awkward sometimes, but it's good German engineering. So they're really good tractor. 820 is probably one of my favourite tractors of all time, really. I think it's a future classic. Really good tractors, and I'd buy one if I had the money, to be honest. I really like these tractors. So first job is just taking a couple of panels off. There's like a couple of brackets, which when the bonnet comes down helps line the bonnet up and keep it centred. Take them off. There's a couple of pipe clamps. We're on the left hand side of the tractor now. We've took the aircon belt off. Slack that off, slack the aircon pump off. I don't know if you can see it, but that where my finger is, that pulley there, that's the water pump. It's going to be proper tight, squeezing that out of there. Next job is to slacken this big belt off and drain the water out the radiator. And this, on Fendt, you put this little pigtail on the bottom of the radiator. So you just undo that bolt head there, shove a pipe over, and you can, there's no mesh or anything. It's a really good idea that on Fendt. Some other ones should put that on it. Normally you have to pull the bottom hose off, and then there's water just cascading everywhere. It's all over the floor, it's one big mess. So it's a thumbs up from me for that idea, Fendt. Right, so this is called a belt tensioner. It's a spring-loaded pulley which keeps the belt like under a constant pressure all the time. It's not like the old tractors where you pull the alternator back and that tensions the belt. This gives like a uniform tension all the time, and they last quite well, to be fair. There's a 1/2 inch square in the belt tensioner that I've got me snap-on 24 inch long ratchet in. It's really awkward to get to, and you want to make sure that your ratchet's all the way in there. It's got an extension on the end. I think it's 3 inch extension, a little one. Because if that pulley snaps back at you and your fingers are in there, that is going to hurt in the morning. You are going to do some squealing if that gets you. There is a little peg that when you pull it far enough, you can put a peg in, and then you can take your ratchet out of the way and it holds the pulley out of the way, so you can get the belt off in its slack position. But unfortunately I can't quite pull it enough to get the peg in. So I just pull it with one hand and then use the other hand to try and flick the belt off. But in this tiny gap here, I'm trying to get a bar, my hand, a torch and a camera in a tiny little gap, so it's not the easiest to see what I'm doing here, so I'm trying to explain as best I can to you. Took the belt tensioner off now, and now you can see the water pump. It should be quite easy to get to now, to be fair. Drop the torch on the floor. Need about 4 hands in this job when I'm trying to film it at the same time on jobs like this. Put my torch back up, and then I'll just wobble the pulley for you to see it. See all that play in the pulley? That means the bearings are worn, and then that puts a strain on the seal, and then it starts leaking. But on these,
if the seal goes in between the bearings and the pulley, there's a little hole called the telltale, and that trickles water out and creates a leak, and that's your first indication. It's like a warning sign that your water pump's on the way out, because water in bearings never lasts too well. I think it's held on by 6 10mm bolts. Only problem with these Fendts are they're absolutely covered in paint. Everything's about a couple of mil thick with paint, so you've got to chip the paint off of your spanners to be able to get your spanners on them. But when it's awkward bolts, you can't get to the bolt heads to chip the paint off them, so it's quite awkward to get on some stuff like this. And they're really tight, them water pump bolts, little 10mm heads, but they've got an M8 thread on the end, so it's a small head for the size of the bolt. But I've got my snap-on, I think it's 7 or 8 inch long, like extra long 10mm spanner, and that's doing the job, to be fair. Good strong spanners them. Perfect for this kind of job. Right, we've got the old water pump off now. Again, I'm just showing you, you can just hear the bearings rumbling in it, which is never a good sign. It's done 11,000 hours, don't forget, and that's the telltale there. Taking the new one out of the box, checking it's the right one, because sometimes you order the right one and the wrong one doesn't come, or this, that and the other. So checking the parts, it looks alright, looks the same, no play in it, it all looks the same, looks quite good. Being a Fendt, they give you new bolts and they give you the little stack pipe, which is plastic, and then it's got 2 O-rings on it, and they also give you quite a thick, like asbestos-y type gasket. And I always use that Hylamar blue on water pumps and thermostats. It seems to work quite well with anything that's in contact with antifreeze, where some gasket goos can react a bit funny to antifreeze, so I always use Hylamar blue. There's a risk of it touching the water. New water pumps on now, got the tensioner back on. I put that side on, thought my camera was on, but it wasn't on, so I apologise about that, because you've missed me putting it back on in the belt tensioner, but it's just the opposite of how it come off. We're back on the right hand side of the tractor now. Right, grabbing the pipe here that goes from the water pump up to the header tank, and to the bottom of the radiator. Everything's a precision fit on a Fendt. Everything's just the right size, just the right shape, and it all interlocks with all the other components quite well, and it looks quite neat when you open the bonnet on one of these. But yeah, I was just saying before, it's done 11,000 hours on the original water pump, so it's good going. That you can't really complain too much at that. But these Fendts are good for some really high hours if you maintain them well and don't mind spending a bit of money on keeping them going. I'm just doing the Jubilee clips up now. Another little nice thing that the bit of German engineering is that your water pipe onto the radiator, there's like a little rest that you shove your pipe up against, and you know it's on up to the right distance. It's just like a belt and braces sort of thing. Typical German over the top engineering, but it's quite impressive really that they go to little fine details like that when a lot of the other manufacturers don't bother. So it does set them apart a bit from the others, is the build quality of them. Another thing on the Fendt, every single wire, every single pipe has got brackets and clips to keep everything routed where it is. Like there's a few things cable tied on them, but most things they've got proper clips, just to stop anything from rubbing through and keep everything looking tidy. Time to fill it up with some antifreeze. We're using the proper genuine Fendt antifreeze. which we're mixing at 50-50 as it says on the side. Other Agco antifreeze actually says on the drum, not suitable for Fendt tractors, so I'm not sure what the difference is. Don't know, maybe someone in the comments can tell me below what the difference is between Agco antifreeze and Fendt antifreeze. But we use proper genuine oils and genuine filters and genuine parts on this tractor, and it has stood the test of time, so I think it's worth the investment. Back up and running now. Job's a good one. Back to work she goes. Thanks for watching.